Okay. This is going to be a fun discussion right here. All right. Boy, I guess this is like the Halloween ends of the of 20 years ago. Okay? You know, one of those movies where you were expecting one thing and you got another. Destiny, didn't you just watch this one for the first time? I think she did. And why high tension still divides audiences 20 years later. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and say this right now, okay? Because I'm going to definitely talk about the spoiler at the end of the movie. So if you don't want to know the spoiler, I'd say go away for like 10 minutes. And I would even ask you to, if you really want to watch this movie, it really is nice to not know the spoiler, okay? It's one of those movies that has a big spoiler. Like this of like all the, I even put this on my top 10 twist endings video that I did. It's got a really big spoiler. It's not one of those twist endings that's like, if you know it, it's okay. You want to be able to experience that spoiler without, I guess without being spoiled. You want to be able to experience that twist ending, okay? I don't want you to watch this movie knowing that spoiler, that twist ending, all right? So know that going into this. Leave for 10 minutes if you haven't seen High Tension, all right? By the way, I absolutely adore, like Max said, High Tension. I've always loved it to death ever since the first time I saw it. I'm trying to think, did I see this in the theater? Because I do remember seeing the big cardboard stand in the theater for there was a big like cardboard thing, and there's this new horror movie coming to theaters, said High Tension, and I was like, ooh, just by that cover, that looks really good. I was excited to see it. I don't think I saw it in the theater though. I think I rented it pretty soon after it came out though, and it is one of those twist endings that really, really gets people going. People have opinions about that twist ending. And I think the lesson there is, how much do you want explained to you in any movie? Is it cheating to do what they did in this movie? And I don't, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay, but we'll read the story first. Let's see how long the story is. All right, if it's like a 10-page essay, then we're not going to read the whole thing. Okay, you know what? I'll read like the first couple paragraphs. All right. For a lot of people, Alexander Aja's High Tension was their first taste of the new French extremity. Guys, answer me this. Was this one of your first French films that you had ever seen? French horror films? It might have been mine. And since 2003, this French slasher has been a source of frustration for horror buffs. They feel betrayed after witnessing one of the most shocking plot twists to come out of the genre. All the while, there are those who are fascinated by the film's audacity and multifaceted story. Wherever someone might fall on the spectrum, though, everyone can at least agree that High Tension is impossible to forget. Hell yeah, hell yeah. That's why people are still talking about it 20 years later. The conventional slasher film never quite caught on in France. That's interesting. I did not know that. Like it did in the United States. There are exceptions here and there, of course, but as a whole, this subgenre of horror is more of a local flavor than a universal one. However, by the time High Tension had come out, American slashers themselves were victims of postmodern overkill, parody, and stagnation. No one took these films seriously anymore once Scream 3 came and went, especially not the filmmakers. In the meantime, transgressive French cinema was on the rise around the turn of the century. Not every film is of the horror persuasion, at least not in the traditional sense. Yet these feral stories intentionally evoke a variety of unpleasant feelings. And we were just talking about that, horror that pushes boundaries, right? High Tension is widely recognized as the first film to combine the conventions of horror with the intent and style of the new French extremity movement. This riff on a well-known setup, women are terrorized by a bloodthirsty assailant, sounds old hat, but the execution is what seized everyone's attention back then. Free of self-awareness, High Tension draws from the vintage era of slasher films as opposed to the then recent revival. Marie and Alex portray hapless victims who neither laugh in the face of their attacker nor seek comfort in irreverence. Because they take their dilemma seriously, so do the viewers. Playing everything straight was seen as refreshing. Okay, I'm going to stop reading that because I got notes that I can talk about with this movie anyway. I would encourage you to read the rest of this article if you want to. So, High Tension. Like I said, this was probably one of my, if not the first French horror film I'd ever seen. And I was immediately taken with it. And even thinking about it, it might have been my first foreign horror film. You know, like when I first started my channel back in 2015, I was a horror channel, but, you know, I pretty much, I would say I kind of scratched the surface with horror. Where I'm at now, because I'm always looking for different flavors of horror. I think I guess my horror encyclopedia is a lot bigger now than it was when I first started, you know? And I would encourage you guys to do that, you know, because when I'm on, you know, the socials and I constantly, and there's nothing wrong with this, okay? You like what you like, but I constantly see talk about, you know, Scream and Halloween. And Friday, but Friday, we haven't had a new Friday movie in quite a while. So, of course, you're going to get that with these newer movies coming out. But it seems like that's all everybody wants to talk about. I see YouTube channels. That's all they talk about is Scream. Every video, they got to talk about Scream. And Halloween. I'm guilty of this too. I was riding that Halloween D, you know, for those three movies. You know, I got to be honest. I got to be upfront. But under the surface of all that, I've always been really excited to talk about lesser known horror movies, especially foreign movies. So, and those are the movies that I really prefer to review over anything. You know, like today when I was talking about, I was recording my review for Looker and The Final Terror. You know, I just love doing, you know, talking about movies that not everybody has seen. You know, because then others can, you know, they can see it for themselves and they can form their own opinion. But every now and then a movie comes along that has a twist that is so interesting to discuss. Whether you like the twist of High Tension or not, it's a fun discussion to have about that twist and that final act. Because they don't spell everything out. And right now I'm going to go ahead and tell you the twist of the movie. Okay. This whole movie is about these two college students who are going to this house out in the country, and they're going to study. And Marie, she has a crush on the other girl, you know. I think if you go back and watch this movie a second time, a lot of this stuff starts making more sense. You know, right from the get, you see that she definitely is smitten with the other girl, you know. And at the very beginning of the movie, we see her in the mental ward. You know, it's kind of one of those movies that starts off with what happens at the end of the movie, right? But you think that she's in the mental ward because of the nightmare that she's been through. You know, she's the victim. That's what you think, right? And then there is this killer that looks like this scruffy old man that seems very dirty and disgusting. And there's even like a scene where he's in this truck and he's getting a sexual act performed on him, and then he pulls the head up and out the window and drops it. You know, that's kind of the punchline there, is that it's a severed head, you know? So right away they set up this is a killer that's very demented. And so why wouldn't this be the killer by the end of the movie? You automatically, because of the severity of this guy, there's no question in your mind that could it be the killer be somebody else, right? And also just physically, visually, two attractive young girls that are very small and this killer. It's set up like a normal, I'd say even like a backwoods slasher. It's kind of set up like that. And how backwoods slashers, they have a dirty vibe to them, like the Victor Crowley movies, like Just Before Dawn, stuff like that. So you're on this ride, and I think that's one of the things about this movie too, is like you're so invested in this journey, this ride that's going on, and you get locked into these characters, the bad and the good. And so you don't want anything to fuck that up, right? You want those characters to stay who they are. And so by the very end of the movie, and I think it's directed beautifully, by the way, how in the frame you see the grizzled old man, and then the camera pans over to the victim, and then when it pans back, you see Marie. So that's the twist of the movie, is that the killer is actually Marie. She has been terrorizing this young girl for the entire movie. And not only her, but she kills her parents. She kills her little brother, And the kills are extremely violent and pretty damn crazy. So the big problem that people have with this movie is, I guess, how things match up, Wait, she was over here, so she couldn't have been here. She couldn't have killed, or she wasn't strong enough to push the dresser into the guy's head, And to me, the answer to the riddle is actually pretty easy. This whole movie is told from the point of view of the killer. This is one of those slasher movies that's told from the point of view of the killer. And there's a few of these, I think. And I often enjoy those type movies when I can kind of see from the demented mind of a killer. And so for that very reason, everything that plays out in this movie is how it's played out in her own mind. She sees herself as the victim in this movie. She doesn't see herself as the killer. Maybe she goes in and out of it. I think she does. But, that's why not everything is spelled out in this movie. Because, again, you can't trust the mind of a psychotic person. And that's just how it is, And so what does that mean? That means that everything that you've seen in this movie, not necessarily might have happened exactly how you saw it. Hell, some of it might not have even happened at all, right? But I think they do just enough in the little, how the moment of clarity, the moment of realization in the final act, when the audience gets to see what actually happened. They have that in this movie, but they don't tell you everything, They kind of show, I guess, the important beats. But again, the entire movie is from the point of view of a psychotic killer. So it can't be trusted. Now, I think we're all different types of movie watchers. I've seen this, I think this is factual almost. Some people like to have everything spelled out exactly for them. And some people are very nitpicky about movies. Have you ever watched a movie with somebody, and especially horror movies, oh my God, and they are literally just picking apart every single move of every character, There's no ambiguity to the experience whatsoever. Everything it's got to be on the nose. She wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do that. There's no way that would happen. They just have to pick apart everything. It's like, I can give you an example. Like today, I constantly get these is Stu dead thing. My personal opinion, could he live? Yeah, I think he could live. Hell, in the very same movie, right after they shot Billy, he pops right back up after they shot him in the heart, and then they shoot him in the head. Okay. But this comment that I got from this guy was saying his head was squashed like a watermelon. I was like, okay, was there a scene in this movie where the camera panned down to under the TV and you saw his head squashed like a watermelon? and I wish he could have answered me right then and there, but he didn't because it was a comment on YouTube. But no, they don't show the aftermath. And with horror movies and action movies, you gotta think in the realm of, is it possible? If it's possible, and there's money to be made, more importantly, in a sequel, then we're gonna go with it is possible. Okay, and is it possible that a TV could fall on somebody's head? Maybe it lands at a different angle and it doesn't kill them and it doesn't squash their head. And by the way, a freaking skull is pretty damn hard. Okay? It's pretty damn hard. If a TV fell from the top of a high-rise building, sure, it would squash your head like a grape. But if it fell from, 3 feet high? I don't know, maybe. I don't know. So, back to high tension. I'm the type of viewer that I like to kind of fill in my own blanks with movies. I kind of prefer not to be told everything in movies. I'm just that way. And that's how I get myself in trouble, and I get into major arguments with people about movies, But that's just part of the fun. Right? What's up, guys? You are at the end of the DDLive clip. What I do is I like to clip these out if I think the topic is important or something that's newsworthy. So thank you for watching. And if you want to watch more, you can go over here. You can go over here, click on one of those. And hopefully I can do this for 20 seconds, which I think I did. Okay, so thanks for watching, guys.